Yo and hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hobby Think Tank. I'm Mike. What's your name again?
Also, Mike. Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
so easy. That's gonna be the easiest discussion I've ever had. I don't have to remember another name. How you doing, Mike?
doing great. Yeah. I'm a Rangers fan now. I'm just gonna jump on the bandwagon. They're fun. A lot of fun.
You can vote. You can vote. You can root for today's. We're recording
Today's
this
election
on
day.
election day, so you can root for the Rangers anytime you want, unless they're playing the Red Sox.
That's right.
Well, I don't care if you root for them when they are playing the Red Sox, but that's
Yeah.
potato potato.
Nope. Still a Red Sox fan, but the Rangers sure are a lot of fun. I hope DeGrom comes back. Is he still signed for next year?
Yeah. So it's
Is he
sure
gonna be is he gonna be healthy
mid-year, June,
mid-year?
July return. But once we get Shohei Ohtani, all bets are off.
Yeah.
Just go ahead.
I'd love to see Shohei in the playoffs and Mike Trout. Maybe they'll trade Trout.
We'll take Trout too. We'll take them
Yeah.
both. But you could, if we get Ohtani, you could just give us the World Series trophy the next 3 years. Just don't even bother even playing the season. It's a moot point. Just give it to us. We'll take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
It would be crazy, if a team like the Rangers or any team that hadn't ever Seattle, San Diego, if they finally win it and then they win like 3 or 4 out of 5 years or something crazy where it's a dynasty, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the Astros just did that.
Yeah.
They had never won before 2017. Famous, it took them trash cans to do it, but they then 7 straight ALCS, which is, by the way, an impressive accomplishment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to criticize the Astros because the Red Sox were doing it too. Right? I think they didn't win the World Series, so they were doing it's like steroids era. Everybody else was doing it. They were just some guys who were doing it better. But yeah, I mean, I I just don't like the Astros for many reasons. Uh, and none of them are rational. They're just fan based reasons.
I, I think everybody hates the Astros that's not an Astros fan.
Yeah. Yeah. There was that map that went around of fandom in America. I think you
I think I
shared it.
started that going around.
Yeah, it was Astros fans, and it was just this one little dot in Texas, and then the rest of it was the ALCS who was cheering for which team, and then the rest of America was the Rangers.
Which is true, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that far off, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fandom really isn't rational, though, right? I mean,
it never is.
yeah.
No, never is. So it is so many years of pain and misery and the agony of defeat, followed by a few moments of joy occasionally.
Well said.
But I did not cry, which surprised me. I thought I would. On my channel, I had a video that I put up of me watching the end of it, and I was just too excited and kind of maybe stunned, like, oh my gosh, we finally did it.
It was the first time I'd ever seen you speechless.
Well, I didn't know what to say, so I said, let's go to Disneyland or whatever I said.
Yeah.
Which is completely stupid, but in the moment I didn't know what else to say. I should have prepared for but I didn't want to jinx it, right? You don't want to.
You prepare, it's not going to happen.
I didn't have the champagne. I didn't have the stuff, all the lockers covered or anything with paper and tarps and stuff. I should have done that, but
it's like writing out your Oscars acceptance speech.
Right. You just wing it when it happens, right?
Yep.
If it happens. So we're getting into award season. Is it Ohtani in the AL for sure?
And Acuna in the NL.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you.
Yep.
Kind of agree with you. So that is not what we're going to talk about on this episode of Hobby Think Tank. We've already used 6 minutes of our 30 minutes that we want to spend on this. We may go a little long, who knows? But topic I wanted to discuss tonight, Mike, is what I think is going on in the hobby right now is a little bit of card show fatigue. Is it happening? And so, initial thoughts on that, and then we can start discussing it and think tanking it.
Yeah, so I think you went a couple of years without card shows during the pandemic, and then you come out of the pandemic and oh, there are card shows. I want to go to all of them. I know I went to all of the ones in Portland, Maine. They were doing them monthly, and then there were some in Augusta, Maine, 2 or 3 times a year, and I would go to those. And now I don't want to go to many at all, and I haven't been to the Portland one since April, maybe, and I've just gone to the ones in the Shriners shows outside of Boston a couple of times. It's it's too much. There are too many shows, which seems strange. But you see the same dealers and they have the same cards, and it's just over and over and over again. And there are so many shows.
So, Dallas, I just got the reason I wanted to talk about this. I just got done with Dallas this past weekend, and I thought it was busy. It wasn't like it was a couple of years ago. And not that I necessarily, no one would expect it to stay that manic as the hobby was, for a period of time there, 6 to 12 months, that it was just bonkers, right? And now I mean, it was busy. There were certainly times, hours and hours of slowness, what I would call really slow. And I just start to think, and I wonder if it's too much. Like you're saying, the Dallas show is 6 times a year. And then in between that, usually 4 times a year on the off month, they'll do another show in Arlington, which is in between Dallas and Fort Worth, where the Rangers Cowboys are. And so they'll do another one with same people running the show, Kyle and his crew. And it's like, wow, that's 10 shows a year. There's only 2 months that they're not having a show, a big show, right? Not just a little show. The Arlington one's smaller for sure, but it's still a good sized show. And I'll tell you kind of my what I don't like about having so many shows. To me, shows are supposed to be special, right? They're supposed to be something you look forward to and do. And by the way, nobody's holding a gun to my head to go to these shows. So it's not like whether they have them or not doesn't mean that my attendance is mandatory. And so there have been over the last year, I think I've gone to the Dallas show maybe twice. And I've heard rumblings and just that it's slower, slowing down, and all that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think part of it might be that things are slowing down in the hobby in general. The holidays are coming. Um, the economy is turning a little bit, and people are saying, "Well, I don't know if I want to go and spend very much money." I went to the Shriner show this weekend. I went in April to the show. It happens twice a year, and in April it was absolutely packed. This past weekend it wasn't so much, and I was only there for about 2 hours on Saturday morning. And it happens. I think it happens 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday show, which feels like a lot to me for it's not really a small show, but it's a regional show. Um, it's just there's a lot, and then I think, like I said, I think it's partly that it's the season.
For sure. What about the monetary? Like, I want to dissect this a little bit. The money part of it. Part of the reason I can't go to every show is it takes me time to build back my card budget, essentially, because I'm not a guy, and not a knock on anybody who does this. I'm not a guy that's going to go to $100, would take $100 to a show and have a good time. I'm just not that guy. And I know plenty of people that do that, and good for you guys. But I'm taking usually multiple thousands of dollars to any given show, and I want to spend all of it if I can. I and so I won't just spend it to spend it. But to me, shows are events. I want to buy big cards at shows. That's kind of the whole point for me. And so I can't do that every other month or every I can do it a couple of times a year realistically, right? And
Yep.
so I don't need shows that often. So what do you think about that aspect of the money being thinned out so much?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that some people though go to shows only to trade or sell. Like I see people who they've brought their own Zion case or whatever they're called, and they slap it down on a table, taking up the entire place, and they spend 15 minutes talking to dealers, and they don't buy anything, which is fine. It's just a different strategy from mine. I used to be one of those guys who goes with, $60, but now I'm more, and I'm not taking thousands of dollars to a show, but certainly it's, I go to fewer shows, and I, like you said, build my hobby dollars back up so I have a decent budget. And I'm also much more targeted in what I buy now than I was a year ago. And I think a lot of people kind of came out of that pandemic with the same thing as I did, which was I want everything. I don't know what I want in my collection, so I'm just going to buy everything that appeals to me. And then you end up with a collection of mishmashed cards that don't really fit into a what I really wanted in my collection.
I call it a Frankenstein collection.
Yeah,
Parts of parts of parts, right? Nothing that
yeah,
really is cohesive and makes a lot of sense. And I don't want it to sound snobby. That's how I've always been about shows. And it was easy to be that way before the pandemic because there weren't shows every other month or every month or whatever that you could go to. And now guys traveling, I went to Burbank this year in February. I'm going to Strongsville. I'm planning on going to Strongsville in April. So there's a January and a March Dallas shows that I plan on not attending because I'm going to be building up my hobby budget for the Strongsville show and thinking about, that'll be a good time to do that. And I'm just in a little bit of a hobby fatigue overall personally. Like I'm just kind of going through a little funk where I'm just like, hold on. Uh, like the Dallas show was kind of like, okay, this is it for a little while. I'm tired of cards, I guess, and we all go through that. And that's again kind of got my brain spinning about hobby show fatigue because we can all have personal fatigue, but is the hobby getting tired of shows? Is the hobby getting uh is it getting bored of shows? Are there too many, right, all over the country? And you certainly see a lot less people traveling for shows than used to. Felt like there were lots of dealers at the Dallas show, but that they were, I don't know, they all got there late every day and set up. There were half the tables weren't even open by the time they let the VIPs in every day in
oh,
Dallas. Everybody's sleeping in, like, yeah, I'll get there when I get there, kind of thing. There used to be this anticipation and excitement, and you get there early and you set up and you do dealer deals before the people get in, the public, and then it's just nonstop blowing and going. Felt very lazy is a good word. It just felt like a lazy show, from a dealer standpoint, that they weren't, crazy excited. And I heard a bunch of dealers that were talking that they had the best show they've ever had. And I've heard dealers say it was terrible. And I think that's probably true of every show.
yeah.
You're going to have dealers that do well and dealers that don't. Um, where was I going with that point? I had a point there. You can make some points while I think about what my point was.
Well, I stopped and talked to a dealer that I've talked to at other shows before. He was also set up at the National, and so I ran into him at the Shriner show on Saturday, and
Your Yaz guy?
yes, and I asked him about the success of the show, and he said that it would be his probably his last time at the Shriners or a smaller regional show because of the cost that it requires just to get there and set up and get a hotel room, and then you have to make X number of dollars just to make it worth your while for the weekend. And he said that it's just he wasn't seeing it like he was a year ago. So you're going to see
Yeah.
fewer experienced dealers at these shows, in my guess, and they'll either be replaced by less experienced dealers or more up and coming dealers who don't have that experience and maybe aren't. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
To give you an idea, a table, I only got one table at the Dallas show. It was $375. I rented one showcase, so that was $50. I rented the hotel for me and my buddies because they were coming to help me. That was $460 for 3 nights. So you're already in for well over $900 before you've sold a single card. That doesn't include meals and waters and sodas and whatever else you're going to be. Now you'd eat anyway, right? But maybe you wouldn't be eating out every meal and spending extra money doing that. So let's call it $1,000 easy. That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah, and if it's your job, then what's the value of your time?
Right.
Uh, if it's not your job and you're just there to socialize, then maybe that doesn't matter. But if you factored in how much money do I need to make this weekend for this to be successful, then it is a lot more than that $1,000.
And yeah, we were there for Thursday, Friday. We actually didn't even set up Sunday. We packed it up Saturday and we're like, we're not even coming back tomorrow. We're done. Like we were just tired. And maybe that was lack of show stamina potentially, but there were all the dealers in our entire quadrant of tables that were all set up in a big rectangle. None of them were coming back on Sunday. So we're like, why should we come back on Sunday?
Yeah.
It just seemed silly. What do you think about this idea? I'm going to throw this hypothesis out to you that at the end of this year, eBay is going to do something they've never done before. They're going to send out 1099s, right? For pretty much everybody. It used to
Is
be
that
you had to
official? I
oh
know
yeah,
last year they were going to, and then I think they were told. Like, I don't remember what happened, but then they didn't. Right?
100%. And so what that makes me think is these guys, these dealers that maybe sell, you know, they're part-time guys, they do it as a side gig, they do it to fund their hobby, whatever. They're going to have a rude awakening come next April when they have to file their taxes and like, oh crap, which will then I think increase the power of cash, which would, if you said, oh, I have to spend $1,000 to get into this show, that's still better than paying, and I sell three, four, $5,000 worth of stuff. That's still better than paying X percent on taxes on that same amount. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the power of cash and the power of in-person deals, the power of private sales will get bigger and bigger and bigger because it's not reportable. Are people supposed to report it? Of course. And I hope the IRS doesn't watch and say, people aren't reporting their, you know, card show sales, but it's a cash business in
Yeah.
person. And that's just the reality of it, that I think more and more sellers might go, eBay's great, more eyeballs, but at the same time, I got to report all this. I'd rather go to a show, maybe even sell a little less, but get to keep all of it. That's, I think, an appeal, which might bring a research. My point of that whole diatribe is to bring a point to that maybe mid next year we start seeing a resurgence in show attendance and a resurgence in show dealers to try to grab more of, it's a cash grab, right? I'd rather just do cash and try to do it that way. Maybe I'm not. That's why this is a think tank. I'm throwing it out there and seeing if it sticks. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think you'd need to see a lot of dealers leaving eBay and having it be pretty public, saying we are shifting X percent of our business to card shows and we'll be at these card shows. But yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting thought that if they do that, that would have a big impact.
And I might, I don't know. I'm just thinking about the secondary market sales that are public, eBay sales, all of that. That's been very steady over the last, basically 18 months in terms of the hobby's not growing in terms of, if you just look at secondary sales, it's plus or minus, it's still a couple $100 million a month in secondary sales, auction houses, eBay. And that's data that's tracked by Card Ladder, by the way. So it's not even my data. I'm not making that up. That's a real number that they track. And So the truth is that the hobby's not growing, but you might even see that number start to go down. And that wouldn't necessarily mean that the hobby's contracting either. It could just mean that those sales have started to shift offline in
Yeah.
order to avoid Uncle Sam.
Yeah, and you see a lot of Twitter threads, sales threads, and Instagram too, where people say PayPal
TikTok, Discord, Facebook, right? I mean,
friends and family only.
yep. Yeah, PayPal even, they'll be sending out 1099s as well. So even if you're doing a private deal and they do it and you own it, and here's the thing, if you own a business, if you're a business PayPal account, you can't take, they won't even allow you to take friends and family.
Yeah.
You have to take it as goods and services. And so you're paying that, it's reportable and all that good stuff. Um, Again, cash is king, right? We've always said it, and now it might kind of come full circle that that's even more true. Or cards, right? You can trade cards as cash if
Yeah.
you decide to trade. But
Yeah, when negotiating at shows, I always say, "Would you do $100 cash?" So they know I'm not trying to give them a card or PayPal or whatever. And that always a lot of dealers don't take any of those except for cash, but some dealers do, and throwing in I've got cash helps.
it certainly does. It's funny. It used to be, back in the 2000s, 2010s, again, pre-pandemic, I would offer a dealer a price of $200 cash, and they're like, "Well, of course it's cash. What else are you going to do?" This was pre PayPal, Venmo, all these things being normal, right? And I think we'll go again. That circle will finally complete itself, and we'll be back to, well, of course it's cash. I don't want any of that other stuff because I have to report it.
Yeah.
You know, um, I saw at one of the last, not necessarily this show, honestly, very much, but I wasn't necessarily looking for it. But a couple of Dallas shows ago, so many tables had cash only on their table as a little sign, cash purchases only. And I saw it once and I'm like, huh. And I saw it again. And then it started looking for it and I saw it more than I would have thought. It wasn't like every table had that, but you know, a dozen to 15 tables all had cash only. So they were catching on already. And I didn't notice that this time. It doesn't mean that people didn't have those signs, but I didn't see it. So again, that could lead to a resurgence in card shows, kind of this, dead cat bounce on card shows, right? You get on the other side of this tax situation. Maybe I'll do this show. Even if it costs me X dollars, I'm better off than paying that money to Uncle Sam.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as Fanatics what is their Fanatics events
Yep.
arm starts bringing up some card shows. If they innovate in any ways that are spreadable, meaning other card shows say, "Oh, the Fanatics did this really cool thing at this show. We should do this too." And those types of things bring more people to shows. Um, I don't, I don't know what Fanatics might do, but I'll be interested to see.
I'm actually excited about that. The general card show experience has not changed in 4 decades. The basic idea of what a card show is, right? There's old crotchety men standing behind their table, overpriced cards or not priced at all cards. And, you know, it used to be that I would go up, especially when I was a kid, and I'd say, "Hey, can I see that Mickey Mantle?" And they'd look at me like I'm crazy. Like, you can't pay for that, kid. Don't even. No. You know, I saw a 14-year-old kid that had bought a 52 tops mantle for $17,000 at the show.
Jeez.
And now you have to take these, like, if a kid comes up and says he wants to see your mantle, you're going to go, he might just have it, and you got to give him a shot to, man, that's awesome. I have $8 in my pocket. Will you take it? That's
Eh,
not going to work. But there are kids now that have better collections than me, and they're, a third of my age. So you just don't know that it's changing a lot. And I think Fanatics is going to bring an entertainment aspect to it that I think is going to attract more non hobby people, more non purists, I guess, And so I think you're going to see the hobby. I think there will always be a component that is traditional hobby show, traditional sports card show type of feel. But then there will be other side attractions. You're going to have town criers out there, the carnival criers out there going, step right up, folks. Come see the bearded lady. And it'll be Mike, in there, dressed in a dress. That would be fun to
Yeah.
watch. We could charge for that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, right down below if you want to see Mike as the bearded lady at a future card show event. That would be pretty fun.
So it's interesting because you texted me the idea for this video, this topic, and I was in the middle of a conversation with my friend who sets up at the Portland Card Show. He also does the Saco, Maine Card Show. I'm in Maine, for those who aren't aware. Portland, Maine is not very far from Saco, Maine, and then there's also Lewiston, Maine, which was, of course, in the national news a couple weeks ago. This Sunday, there is a card show in Portland, another one in Lewiston, another one in Saco, I think. And then there's also one in Dover, New Hampshire, which isn't terribly far away, and one in Bangor, Maine. All on the
All the
same
same
day.
weekend. All the same
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah. And same day. And Bangor isn't very close, but still, normally in Maine, you would never have more than one in a day because people will drive all over the state. And all four of these places are having a show on the same day. And we're talking about it like, what do you need all these shows for? And he's friends with the promoters for a couple of them, and he was messaging them like, what are we doing? And they were kind of getting, I don't want to say defensive, but they were defending their decision to still hold it. And it's just, there's so many shows now.
I see a video in your future of 4 shows in one day.
Hmm.
Right? You're welcome.
Hmm.
Half of the YouTube revenue from that should come to me. That would be awesome. I would love to watch that and see the different vibes of each show. How busy? Obviously,
Yeah.
it would depend on if you're at one early, it's going to be a little bit slower than one in the middle of the day, which would be maybe a little misrepresentation, but you wouldn't just to see 4 different shows and who's there. And I'll come do it. Let's do it this Saturday, right?
All right. Yeah.
We'll do it
Fly on
together.
up. You got it.
I'll fly on up.
Portland and Lewiston are really close to each other. It's just a short drive between Portland and Lewiston. I blew all my hobby money at the Wilmington show.
There you go. We could just that would be. I'm going to spend $100 at each show. Like do something really small.
It's how everybody, all the big time YouTubers always have thumbnails, and their title is "I spent $25,000 at the," and then in their thumbnail they're holding up like $100 bill or something at a dealer. I always thought it'd be funny to have a title that I spent $1 at the Portland, Maine Card Show, and have me holding up $1 negotiating.
Speaking of content creation, you've also seen a huge decrease in card show recap videos.
Yes, and the traffic to card show recaps are down too.
Well, my Dallas show recap, which I don't know how many other ones. I know Ryan Johnson was there, Card Collector 2, and he put out his first video either this morning or yesterday about he bought a card. I sold a card to Ryan Johnson, one of the 101s that he showed off in that video was one of mine.
Were you in his video?
So I was actually away from the table in the moment, and Andy sold it for me, and he sold it for less than I would have made him pay, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Not much less, honestly. So the point being, you're not seeing 30 guys walking around with cameras and all that. There was hardly any of that at this Dallas show. I took 0 footage at the show itself because it's kind of, speaking of fatigue, how many times can I show you the same room? How many times do you want to see that? If there was something unusual happening, I might film it. But the reality is it looked the same as every other Dallas show. You want to see what the Dallas show looked like? Go watch my last recap where I actually showed footage, and you'll see what this was like. It's it's kind of that nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
And to your point of lower viewership, but that my Dallas show recap is it's my number one video in my last 10 for sure. So there's still some interest in people seeing that. Little do they know when they click on it, they're not really going to see anything that actually happened at the show. And the video, I am so over looking at a showcase. I could care less about seeing what's in a showcase because I'm not, first of all, I'm not there to buy it. I can't buy it. So what's the point of, show me what I can't buy, please. Show me what I missed out on. Show me. Yeah, that makes me feel great, and people move too fast anyway. You can't really, like, they probably feel like they're moving really slow, but when you watch it, it's like,
Yeah.
like,
I'm definitely guilty of that.
yeah. And so when I see people doing that in a video that's a card show recap, I just fast forward and I go, show me what card you got. That's all I need to really see anyway, because that's really what I care about. What was cool to you?
Yeah.
So it's I think there is a little bit of YouTube consumption fatigue on card show videos, at least content creators, because they're not making them anymore like they used to.
Yeah, look at Ryan Nolan, Breakout Cards. He moved away from card show videos, and he's doing more of the junk wax investor type things, which is those are wildly popular.
Indeed, they are. Anything else you want to touch on? We've gone over our allotted 30 minutes of Hobby Think Tank, but
Nope, I think I'm good. This is a good topic.
I love it too. Thank you guys for watching. Would love to hear what you think, what your experience has been at recent card shows that you might have attended. Just any thoughts that you have about the future of the card show market and where it's going, what Fanatics might do, any and all those topics. We would love to hear your thoughts. Appreciate you watching as always. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Keep collecting.